essential, I guess. I don't know, it doesn't feel like the right word. But we need to have faith, and we need to trust God. And that can be hard sometimes. That's something that I've been dealing with in my life lately. I had this long situation play out at work, and coming from the other side of it, I see how God was working behind the scenes for the resolution of that situation. But in the middle of it, it was very difficult, and I kept asking God, why? Why is this happening? And what are you doing about this situation? And I don't think I was fully trusting. I had moments where I was saying, like, God will handle this however he sees fit. And I think that was to help me relieve my anxiety from it, because the situation was so awful that I was constantly stressed. I was making myself sick over it. And so I had to tell myself that God will take care of it. And I couldn't control anything about the situation other than what I could do about it. I did everything I could, and that's it. Now we wait to see what happens. And that's really hard. It's so hard when you're in that kind of situation and you're just wondering, when is it going to be over? It's like you pray for patience and you get opportunities to be patient. You're not just automatically patient because you prayed for it. And I think that's really important to realize, which I've known, but I saw a Facebook reel recently that said something similar, like when you pray for a cake and you go to your kitchen, you see the ingredients to make a cake, and then you make your cake, and then you have the cake that you prayed for. And similarly, when you pray for patience, you get opportunities to be patient. It's not always that you're just automatically patient. And we have to trust the process, and trust that God is guiding us to answer our prayers. But that process can seem difficult, because if you're praying for patience and then all of a sudden, every time you go anywhere, you're stuck at every single red light, or you're always stuck in traffic, and you're just like, come on, why? But you prayed for patience, so God is providing you with the tools to become patient, the opportunities to be patient. And so, praying for other things, like we might pray for our home, pray for a new job, or a source of income that makes us happy, or a partner, whatever it might be. We might pray for all of these things, and then we just expect it to magically fall into our laps. It doesn't work that way. Which I wish it did. It would be so much easier to pray for a homestead with chickens and apple trees and this, that, and rattle off a list of all the things I want. And all of a sudden, I have it. But not the way it works. Unfortunately, I would love for those things to just be in my life right this second. But we have to trust God and trust that God is providing us with the steps, laying out that path for us where we can be patient, we can get to our homestead, we can find the love of our life, we can do X, Y, and Z, whatever it is that you've been praying for. We have to trust God enough to take the next step. And it's hard to build that trust sometimes, because if you're someone like me who has trust issues, it doesn't come easy. But we have to spend time with God. We might sit in prayer, we might meditate, and just sit with God for a moment. We might read our Bible and learn more about who God truly is. And when those steps come to us, we're better able to recognize that, oh, this is a stepping stone towards my goal, towards answering my prayer that I've been praying for a long time. Even though I'm frustrated in this traffic, I prayed for patience. So let me use my tools. Let me sit with God. And you might be saying the Jesus prayer over and over again until you feel calmer and less angry, irritated by the traffic. But you'll get there. I think that it can be hard to realize when you're in those moments that, oh, this is an opportunity that God is giving me. That God has placed a stepping stone in my path. But when you look back on things, you realize, oh, that's what he was doing. But we have to trust him enough to step on that stone and take that next step, even if it's a small baby step. Any step forward is progress. It's a good step. But we have to trust God, especially when things are difficult, because it's easy to say, oh, I trust God when everything's fine. But when the house is on fire, what do? It's important to trust God always. And it's not always easy. And you're not always going to see where the path is taking you, what the next step is, what's 5 steps ahead, what's the next step ahead, even sometimes. But just take a deep breath, be where you are, spend time with God, and trust that God is with you and is guiding you to fulfill your prayers, answer your prayers. And I'm saying a lot of this for myself because I think I've been praying a lot for guidance on different things and asking, how do I trust more? How do I surrender to God more? And I feel like a lot of times when I'm presented with a new stepping stone, I resist it like crazy. I'm just like, oh no, that can't be the right step. I can't do that. Or I just have so much anxiety. Like, yeah, that feels like the right thing to do, but it's scary because because what about X, Y, and Z? What about all these other things that I haven't even thought about? What am I going to do after I take that step? But when you trust God, you take that step even though you don't know what the step after that one is going to be. And I think that's so important. And it's kind of cool that we can trust God to the point where we don't know what lies ahead for us, but He's gonna get us to where we need to go. I love that. I think I'm just gonna leave it with that. And if you have any thoughts about trusting God or have advice for ways that you trust God, exercises that you do, how do you surrender? Or is it just as difficult for you as it is for me and other